Hey guys, it's Whoopi and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about intentionality and intentions. That's pretty much all I have to say for this intro, so let's just get into it. Now, intentionality is the fact of being purposive or deliberate, and intentional means being done on purpose or deliberately. So they're basically the same thing. It's just one of those words and things that I think we all kind of know but don't really know. You feel me? So I decided last week I was going to be intentional in my spiritual life because I have been trying to reconnect with God and it was working, but I just felt like I wanted to do something extra. So I decided on Sunday, I was like, right, from Monday to Friday or even in the weekend, I'm going to be intentional with God. I'm going to spend more time in His presence. I'm going to make more time in my timetable and schedule to spend time with Him, more time for God and less time for screen time, because I'll be on my phone and not do anything. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't doing it. I was on my phone but not doing anything. And I was like, this needs to change. So I decided that I wanted to watch a sermon on Monday and maybe every day, or listen to a podcast, or literally just read the Bible. But I was planning on reading the Bible every day as well. Now, I was kind of nervous to start this week of intentionality because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I fail? Oh my gosh, am I gonna do it? Yeah. But then I remembered that God will love me whether I make it to the end of the week or if I do one day. Like, I'm still enough to Him and He's still happy that I'm His daughter. So I was like, let's just do it. Also, excuse my stuffiness, it's my allergies. Let's start with Monday. So Monday comes around, I have things to do, I do them, and then I go on YouTube and I look in my watch later list and I look for one of the sermons I've saved on there to watch one day, and I find one about the spirit of fear. Now, as a very anxious person, fear is a big thing that is in my life. So I thought it would be best that I watch it. Now, the story was focusing on Daniel being in the lion's den. So if you've never heard of the story of Daniel in the lion's den, let me give you a modern day sort of summary. So Daniel was a man of God. He used to pray to God all the time, even though the kingdom prayed to idols or would idolize the king. And even the king loved Daniel, even though he wasn't tight with God himself. Anyway, so there were these officials and advisors to the king who basically saw Daniel as a threat because the king favored him so much, and they were like, right, let's just get him killed. So let's advise the king to make a new law, basically saying that they all have to praise the king and worship the king and no other gods or idols for like a whole month. If no one followed the decree, they would be thrown into the lion's den. Now, once Daniel heard this, he still prayed to God 3 times a day. He would completely ignore the decree. He wouldn't be worshipping the king at the set hours that they wanted him to. And the officials basically caught him doing it, and they tried to expose him to the king, and they were all like, yo, your bro Daniel, he ain't worshipping you. And when the king heard this, he was very distraught because obviously he's like, Daniel's my homie. But I did put this decree in writing and I sealed it myself. Therefore, he should be thrown in the lion's den. And he tried everything for a whole day to not get him thrown into the lion's den, but eventually he gets thrown in. So he gets thrown in, and the king says to him, I really hope that your God is real and will come through and save you, because I can't take back my own word. That whole night the king doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat, he doesn't take any entertainment because he's busy worrying about Daniel. So the lion's den is closed in with a rock and with the king's seal, so no one can get in until the next day basically. So when the next day rolls through, the king like brushes down and he's all like, Daniel homie, you good, you safe? And Daniel replies and he says, may my king live forever. And then he says that God sent one of his angels down to close the mouths of the lions so they would not harm him. And they open up the lion's den and Daniel comes out completely unharmed, like not a scratch on him. The king was obviously amazed and was like, wow, your God is amazing. And then he basically has the officials all thrown in the lion's den and they die. Now, so the sermon was based around this story, and it was by one of my favourite Christian females out there, Sadie Robertson. I will actually link the video down below in my description box if you're interested to hear what she had to say. But basically, I wrote some notes. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, I wrote some notes. It's a lot. I wrote like 2 pages worth. And she was basically saying that we all have fear. Like, it's a natural human thing to have, but sometimes we let the spirit of fear get in the way of the spirit of faith and the spirit of God. And basically, if we have fear over something, we should do it anyway, because we should trust that God has us and he will carry us through every situation. Now, on Tuesday, I don't really remember what I did. I blame quarantine, but I think that I just opened up my Bible and started reading Proverbs, because I wanted to start reading a new book in the Bible, and I just felt like Proverbs was the best one because it's giving you advice, and I need advice on my life, always. They all hold so much advice and wisdom, and it just reminded me how important wisdom is and how we as Christians and as people can always ask God for wisdom. Like, he wants to give it to you, you just have to ask. And I was like, mind blown. Then on Wednesday I watched another video on YouTube. I will also link this one in the description box because it could help someone, and it was about why do you push people away. Now, this half of the week that we're about to enter was the bad half of my week. It involved quite a few tears and quite a few sad moments, but it's okay because we're here now. And this was by Stephen Furtick, and he is a preacher at Elevation Worship. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't, I don't know, but do what you will with that information. And literally one of the first things that he says, well, one of the first things that stood out to me anyway, was we're so used to scarcity, we don't accept abundance. And that's something that really clocked in with me, because I'm someone who finds it really hard to be vulnerable about how I'm feeling and just talk about feelings because of past experiences in my life. And it just made me realize that this is one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to open up now, because I'm so used to people not caring in the past that I now am bringing my old wounds into new relationships, which is not good, but I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it. Another thing that stood out to me from this video was that he said focus on the fruit and not the frustration. Now, there are several fruits that we get from the Spirit of God, and that is in Galatians 5. Galatians 5 verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. As a Christian, I strive to develop these fruits and gain these fruits from the Spirit of God, but it is very difficult, obviously, because we're human and we're not God, so we're not obviously going to do it 100% and get it right all the time, and that can be frustrating. So when I heard Stephen say focus on the fruit and not the frustration, it really opened my eyes to how much I can focus on my problems and my anxieties instead of focusing on God and what he has in store for me and my future. He also said something about imagine what's waiting for you on the other side of this frustration, on the other side of this situation. And it blew my mind, because sometimes we can get so sucked in our current situation and we think that there's no way out, and we're just focusing on the bad side of it, when we can focus on the positives, like what are we going to learn from this? What are we going to take with us in our future? Then on Thursday, I didn't really spend Well, I usually pray at least 3 times a day. I put reminders on my phone, one for the morning, one for the afternoon, and one for the evening. And then at night I'll pray again, just to finish my whole day. But on Thursday I wasn't feeling like I had enough energy to focus on a video of a sermon or a podcast. So eventually I just decided to play worship music for like half an hour to an hour in my room, and I just sat with God, and I wasn't really expecting anything. I just let him speak to me, just speak over me, whatever you want me to hear, like through the music, or just sit with me basically, because I was just feeling a bit desperate at that point to just be with God. And God really came and sat with me, and I felt his presence, and the Holy Spirit just literally wrapped me in a feeling of love and comfort. It was like someone put a blanket over me, and I was like, what? Because I've never been in contact with God in that way. If he speaks to me, it's either in my head or through other people or through the Bible, or if the Spirit comes to me, I'm usually like crying my eyes out, and I wasn't doing any of these things. And I was just like, if that was you, God, please just cover me again. And he literally covered me in the exact same way, like it was a blanket of love and comfort, and I just felt so at peace. And I feel like God's peace is just a whole other level. Like it's not even a vibe, it's bigger than a vibe. And that night before I went to sleep, I read the Bible, and in Proverbs 3, chapter 5 to 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Now, I feel like a lot of Christians have heard those verses before, but it just really sunk in differently this time, because I really was trusting in the Lord last week. I was literally trying to be more intentional with how I trust him. I trust him completely, but sometimes I forget to lean on him and not on myself. And then on Friday, I basically just read the Bible and just prayed this out with God from time to time. And another Proverbs 3 verse or verses, I think it's verses. Yeah, it was verses, my bad. So Proverbs 3 verse end of 23 to 24 says, "And your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." Now, I'm someone who can stay up till the end of time sometimes because I'm worrying and overthinking about everything. But because I felt so at peace, it made me smile to read that I shouldn't even have to be afraid, because when I'm lying in the presence of God, my sleep will be sweet. Like I will be able to sleep and I will be able to feel at peace. And then my weekend was pretty much the same. Like it was just more Bible time. That week for me, a week of intentionality and a week of being intentional with God and being intentional in my relationship with God, was very transformative for my mind, but also for my spirit. If you're watching this and you're not Christian, I understand that half of the things I say will probably sound absolutely crazy and like I'm a lunatic, but it is what I believe and it is real to me, and I respect your decision to not have a religion or believe in my religion. If you are a Christian, I encourage you to be intentional with God this week, or to be intentional with God just for even a day, and see how it changes your perspective on things, or just change your perspective in general. And don't give me none of that, "Oh, but I'm too busy for that," and "Oh, I don't have time for that." You make time for the things that you care about, for the hobbies that you're passionate about. So you will make some time in your day to spend time with God. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope that you now understand what being intentional means a bit more, and I hope that my week of being intentional helps someone, I guess, because what I've learned could be something that you needed to hear. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are new and you enjoyed that video or want to look at more of my content, press the subscribe button down there somewhere and check out my channel. I'm sending out peace, love and positivity today, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a good week. I'll see you next week.